Welcome to the Expect Success Podcast, a presentation of GeorgeBollick.com with your host, George Bollick. This podcast is for all things personal development. Don't expect success, prepare for it. Please welcome your host, George Bollick.
Welcome to Expect Success at GeorgeBollick.com. Now, in addition to listening to our podcast, you can also view the video format on YouTube at GeorgeTube.com. Personal development is, in its simplest of terms, the concept of you consciously evolving as a person and regularly improving your life mentally, physically, and spiritually. Up until this point, we've mainly been putting a lot of emphasis on the mental aspects of personal development. Well, today we're going to switch things up a bit and get physical. Ever heard of intermittent fasting? I've been studying up on it, and I watched only about 1 million videos over this past weekend because for me, videos are the best way to learn. There was one in particular that I want to share with you today for a couple reasons. It's short, to the point, and hopefully provides you with enough information to decide whether or not this is something you would like to pursue further. Terry Crews is an actor, former NFL player, and host of Netflix's Ultimate Beastmaster. You'll probably recognize him when you see him, as I did. Anyway, Terry discusses the diet he's followed for over the last 5 years to stay in great shape. Listen to Terry.
My first meal is at 2 p.m. and then I eat from 2 to 10. Over the last 5 years, I have been doing intermittent fasting. And so what happens is I work out very, very early in the morning, but then I don't eat. My first meal is at 2 p.m. and then I eat from 2 to 10. Now, then the times I don't eat, in a fasting period, which is a 16-hour fasting, I drink amino acid drinks. I'll have coffee, maybe tea. Sometimes I'll have a little coconut oil on a spoon that makes you feel a little satiated, that kind of thing, but it's never a meal. And then once I get on my meals, it's good. Now, the problem with intermittent fasting is that you never want to have a bad meal because you're like, I waited all day, 16 hours for this. Over the last 5 years, it's really kept me in great, great shape. They found scientifically there's a thing called autophagy. Autophagy is when the cells in your body are rebuilding themselves. It's one of those things where when you go without the food, it's really strengthens your cells. The cells are trying to rebuild and they're trying to do their thing, and it's a wonderful thing. It's kind of like renewed. Once it's done digesting, the body's done working with food, it starts to work on other cells in the body. I can feel the difference. I literally can put pictures of myself now versus pictures of myself at 22 years old, and I look and feel much better right now.
Now that's awesome. Now for more about intermittent fasting, simply search YouTube. There's a ton of free content that really gets into the individual experiences and even the science of intermittent fasting. I'll include a link in the show notes to some great reading and audio content as well. And remember this, as the late great Jim Rohn used to say, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Today I've been hanging out with Terry Crews. Keep up the momentum. Subscribe to our newsletter so you never miss another episode. We'll catch you on the next show. And thanks a million for listening. See ya.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Expect Success Podcast with your host, George Bollick. If you enjoyed today's podcast, please rate, subscribe, and review. And find more great content online at GeorgeBollick.com and on Facebook and Twitter at George Bollick. We'll catch you next time. And remember, don't just expect success, prepare for it.